So at 12 years old, I was diagnosed with a condition called neurofibromatosis, or NF1, which is a disorder where non-cancerous fibromas grow on your nerves. And in the long run, they can affect your walking, your social skills, or you can also get brain tumors. I didn't have any issues until I was 40 years old. I had no idea what this was. I completely disregarded it. I tried everything to try to resolve it other than going to a doctor. I brushed it off in the beginning with, knee injury, ACLs, of tearing my ACL from playing, flag football with the kids. So I just kept doing what I needed to do, being a mom, working, traveling with my son for his sports. And I began to have other pains like, my hip, and falling sometimes. And so I went to several doctors, and the doctor did a CAT scan where he saw a black blurb on my cervical spine, and he didn't like it. So I had to have another x-ray called a myogram, and you kind of lay on this machine and they do a full body scan. They inject this dye down your spinal cord, and when they did that, I literally slid off the table and became paralyzed, and I had a panic attack, and I was crying. I was frustrated because I had no idea at this time what was really going on. I had fibromas on every level of my cervical spine except for C2 and C7, which would explain why I was falling, because the signal from my brainstem wasn't getting down to my spinal cord to say, hey, we need to walk. Hey, we need to use your arms. Mind you, this is during the time COVID is happening. So as the world is shutting down, my body was shutting down. And so I had to have the surgery in Houston in August at MD Anderson. There was no visitors during COVID, so I had to have this surgery by myself with no family members to assist me or be there for me to comfort me through the surgery. The doctor came in and told me that I was paralyzed. I was quadriplegic. I couldn't move I could not physically walk. I could move, but I couldn't use anything. It was very frustrating and very hard to physically have to have somebody help you do something or go from able-bodied to disabled overnight. I was in tears some days in my room crying because I couldn't do the things that I normally wanted to do. I wanted to get up and cook for my kids. I couldn't cook for my kids. I lost a lot of my confidence through all this, and I've never been the type of person to have low self-esteem. The challenge was for me to try to power through all this and still be a mother at the same time. As I'm going through my journey, learning how to do things again while I'm working, I started going back to church online, and just listening to the word and being fed. And I was starting to understand where I needed to be. I came back to church in person, and things started to shift. I started feeling better about myself, and I was encouraged through Pastor Polo's sermon to say it with your chest. It shook my world. And from that moment, I was ready to now share and talk about it. I feel that my purpose that God has given me is to go back and to help others that are in the rehab facility that I was at. I have been called, and I will start speaking engagements. So I'll be a guest speaker for stroke victims and for amputee victims on a quarterly basis, to give them some insight and positivity to come on the other side of it, for them to know that they are going to be healed in Jesus' name. I know that I'm not healed yet, but I am victories on the other side for me.